Welcome back to Cooking with Canines at Old Tavern Farm. Even though it's warm outside, I still love my decadent cheese dishes. It's getting really hot. It's the middle of July, and we are working hard here on the farm. It's getting humid and very sunny. So on those days, I really like to just stay inside and crank up the air conditioning so I can pretend it's not as hot outside. Well, it is what it is. But I wanted to show you today how to make one of my favorite things, and some people call it one thing and some people call it another thing. It's called Welsh Rabbit in some parts of the world, and then other parts of the world people say that is not really a real thing. It's Welsh Rabbit, which probably won't please all the vegans out there. But you can also call it cheese fondue. The bottom line is it's cheesy, it's full of beer, and it works around bread. So how can it be possibly bad? So here we go without further ado. So I'm going to put a link to the recipe, which is on my website in the blog section. But we're going to start out with a stick of butter, which is, I believe it's a half cup of butter. It's already melted. So I'm going to add to that, I'm going to add equal parts of flour, which is a roux, equal parts flour and fat. So a half a cup of flour, a half a teaspoon of white pepper, which is a really cool thing. Our old friend dry mustard, a teaspoon of that, and a teaspoon of salt. Okay, that's what's in here. All right, so I'm just going to add that to our butter and whisk it around a little bit. We're going to let the flour coat the molecules of protein that are in the, the butter coat the molecules of protein that are in the flour. So we're just going to let that cook for a little bit. So a word on white pepper. White pepper is really useful when you're making a sauce, like a kind of a white sauce, white-ish sauce, because it's as you can see, it's whiter, it's less dark than the black pepper, so it gives you just a little prettier sauce. You can of course use black pepper. As I always say, use what you have. But great little friend to go along with our old friend dry mustard. So we love that too. All right. So this is cooked down a little bit. You're just going to whisk a little bit until that sauce starts to thicken up a little bit. All right. And then what we're going to do, and typically making a white sauce or a roux, we're going to cook our fat in our flour, and then we're going to add milk, or stock, sometimes that's called. So we're going to carefully add that, because if it splashes, you could feel it. So then we're just going to continue to cook. Whisk so you don't get any lumps. And we're going to let it. Now, the fun thing about Welsh Rabbit, aside from the beer factor, is this little product right here. Worcestershire sauce is, I don't know, there's a list of ingredients. Actually, I thought it was a mile long, but there's a list of ingredients right there, which are actual real things. Anchovies, garlic, tamarind sauce, cloves. This is the original one from England. Worcestershire, from Worcestershire. Anyway, you can use this in lots of things, and it'll give that little piquant flavor in the back that is just delicious. There's a lot of imitators out there, but stick to this, it'll never fail you. All right, so we have, once we've cooked our fat in our flour and our milk, and we're starting to get a little thickening going on, I'm gonna bump that temperature a little bit. We're gonna add a tablespoon of the Worcestershire sauce. There you go. Right into there. And we're just gonna let it cook down a little bit. Okay. Now, a word about beer. People have kittens about cooking with alcohol sometimes. All right, maybe not everybody, but I've seen it. It happens. So you can either cook with, and you want to cook with a lager and just use the cheapest possible thing. And this is my husband's beer, not mine. I don't drink this. Well, I might drink it. You never know. But then there's also, look, non-alcoholic. Everybody who's all sensitive about cooking with alcohol. Here's the thing. when you heat alcohol, the alcohol part that makes you tipsy, it cooks out. All right, so unless you just don't want to have it in your house, which I understand, there's no need to worry about there being alcohol in a sauce, because there is no alcohol in the sauce unless you serve it raw. So keep in mind not to be afraid. Either one will work. They both have a good lager flavor. So just don't stress about it. Stress about other stuff, but not about alcohol in your sauce. Okay? All right. So that said, our sauce over here is starting to bubble and thicken a little bit. We're just going to give it a little whisk. So this is the base for the cheese. Welsh Rabbit is all about cheese. Or cheese fondue is all about cheese. I'm planning to serve this to my family tomorrow night for Family Friday night. So, yeah. Beer. I want to put a half a can of beer in there now. So all this hotness over here is the base for all the cheese. All right? So we're going to pour about a half a can of beer. There we go. And then just let that continue to cook for a second. All right. Now we're going to take 6 ounces of shredded cheddar, which really like 8 ounces would be better, but I didn't have 8 ounces. I only had 6 ounces. So what I did have a ton of was American cheese. And American cheese is great. It melts really well. But again, use what you have. Who cares? It's still going to be delicious. And we're going to add in the shredded cheddar first, because this takes a little bit longer to melt. So we're going to add the shredded first. But you can put blue cheese. You can put Gruyere. You can put Swiss, which is kind of a Gruyere. You can put pepper jack. You can put, how many other kinds of cheeses are there in the world? Like a billion. Parmesan, mozzarella. Mozzarella can be stringy every now and then, and it can't be fresh because it'll be lumpy. So shredded is always better. Like shredded bagged, this is a great use for it. Okay, then we're going to dump that cheese in there. Okay. We're going to tidy our decks here just a little bit. All right. I'm going to bump the heat on that just a tiny bit. Whisk, whisk, whisk. Okay, now that is starting to come to a melting stage. And when you're cooking with American cheese and you're trying to melt it, the best way I've found is just to peel it off. And I do like the deli style that comes in a stack like this, not the kind that comes in the plastic wrap from the gas station, which I guess is okay if you're desperate, but it doesn't really melt all that well, and it's really more like a slice of oil and not a slice of cheese. But use what you have. Okay? All right, so I'm going to lay those in there. This is a really, really cheesy sauce. All right, so one couple at a time. The heat's coming right up to temp. And show your kids how to make this, because my mother actually used to make this for our breakfast. So my mother was a stay-at-home wife and homemaker, and they used to just call them homemakers. She used to just call them moms. But we have a lot of other choices now. So you can stay at home if you like, or if you want to work, whatever. There's lots of choices. So she used to cook us a hot breakfast every morning. And one of our favorite breakfasts, well, I think probably my favorite breakfast was cream chip beef on toast. And they call it something else in the wider world, but we're not going to go there. Cream chip beef on toast is wonderful. But back in the 70s, chip beef, they used to call it dried beef. It came in a jar. I think Armour, the company Armour made it. It was pretty affordable, but these days it's really expensive. So I haven't had that in a while, but I do love a meat gravy on toast. Okay, so that's coming up to temp. And I'm going to add my cheese back in. All right, so that's all my cheese. All the cheese is in. So we're going to let that hang out for a minute. And again, just, this is probably where you want to turn your temperature down again. I'm on medium here, so I'm going to turn it back to sort of low. so that the bottom, anytime you have dairy in heat going on, you can scorch it. But just keep whisking and just keep it on a low heat. And what I like to do, I just made bread. So what I like to do is slice up bread and serve it over, you can serve it over toast, you can serve it over fresh bread. But I'm gonna go ahead and have the end of this and a little bit of cheese for lunch. So I'm gonna grab my knife. And I'm going to slice, can you see? A nice big piece of bread. Typically fresh bread slices better like several hours after, but I'm kind of pushing it so I can get this video in before I have to go clean horse stalls. And weed, always weed. Always gotta weed. All right. So, that was a little poof of heat pluming up, which means my heat could probably be a little bit lower, but I'm gonna go ahead and... If you hear that engine noise, that's our next door neighbor. They have lots of trucks over there. Oh, neighbors are great. Okay. So this is our cheese sauce. I'm gonna hold it up. Now it's beautiful. There's a little bit of lump in there. That's only from some cheese that hasn't melted yet. But see how creamy and thick? Okay, and it's, can you smell that? That's Worcestershire sauce and beer. And it weighs a ton. Like you could seriously stop a door with that pot right there. All right. Turn off your heat. And then we're going to pour some of this. All right. And then, you thought I was gonna go off camera, right? Nope. I'm gonna grab some fresh onion tops. And that is lunch. It's not bad. It's not bad for lunch. So you guys go make your own Welsh Rabbit. Welsh Rabbit. It's an old-fashioned tavern meal from the 18th century, British Isles, and it's very filling and very luxurious. You can take your bread and dip it in there if you want. You can use it for an hors d'oeuvre. It's a very versatile cheese sauce, but it's got that little bit of something different going on that gives it a little style, a little panache, a little, she's a good cook, wink, wink. All right, you guys, thank you for visiting. Virtual hugs. Be healthy, be happy. Bye-bye.